Ambassador Park Minji smiled politely as Warlord Krell slammed his clawed fist on the negotiation table. The heavy metal surface dented slightly under the impact. Around the circular chamber, delegates from 7 different alien species watched the exchange with varying degrees of interest. "Your kind has no right to these mining claims," Krell hissed, his reptilian features twisting in disgust. "Earth barely joined this council 23 years ago. You are children playing at politics." Minji kept her hands folded on the table. Her expression remained calm and pleasant. This was the 3rd day of negotiations, and Krell had been hostile from the start. Behind her, Captain Lee Junho stood with his arms crossed, watching from the observers section. His jaw was tight, but his face showed nothing else. "Warlord Krell," Minji said softly. "The Collins sector has 3 human colonies. Over 40,000 people call these worlds home. We are simply asking for fair access to the asteroid belt resources. Surely there is enough for both our peoples." The Torvak warlord laughed. It was a harsh, barking sound that echoed through the chamber. Several other delegates shifted in their seats. The Vryn representative, an insectoid creature named Crix, chittered something that the translation device rendered as amused agreement. "Fair access?" Krell leaned forward. "Your species arrived in this galaxy with your heads bowed and your voices quiet. You smiled and apologized for everything. You accepted every restriction we placed on you. And now you want fairness?" Minji's smile never wavered. "We have always sought peace, Warlord. That has not changed. Peace." Krell spat the word like it tasted bad. "You mean weakness. The Torvak Empire has watched humanity for 2 decades. You have no military strength. You send exploration vessels filled with scientists and diplomats. You negotiate for months over the smallest disagreements. You are the Council's pets, Ambassador. Soft-skinned appeasers who exist because we allow it." In the observer section, Junho's hands curled into fists. Next to him, Lieutenant Choi Dae-hyun placed a gentle hand on his captain's shoulder. The message was clear. Not yet. Not here. Minji took a slow breath. The Torvak Empire has a proud warrior tradition. We respect that. But humanity also believes that strength can be shown through restraint, through choosing peace when war is possible. Choosing peace? Krell stood, his full height towering over the seated ambassador. You choose peace because you have no other choice. Your ships are cargo haulers with light weapons. Your colonies have minimal defenses. You smile because you know what would happen if you didn't. The Quellan delegate, a bulbous amphibious being, made a gurgling sound. Perhaps we should take a recess. Tempers seem. No, Minji said quietly. Let the warlord speak. I want the council to hear what he truly thinks of humanity. Krell's smile showed rows of sharp teeth. Very well, pet. You want truth? Here is truth. Your species is useful for maintaining stability. You accept insults, you compromise on everything. And you never push back. You are the example that keeps other species from challenging the established order. The weak, who know their place. Minji nodded slowly. I see. And the Kalan sector dispute? There is no dispute, Krell said flatly. The Torvak Empire has claim to that region. Your colonies are there by our tolerance, not by right. If you continue to annoy us with these negotiations, that tolerance may end. The chamber went quiet. Even the delegates who had seemed amused earlier now looked uncomfortable. Threatening member species, even indirectly, violated several council protocols. Dr. Kim Sora, sitting in the human delegation section, typed rapidly on her datapad. She was humanity's xenobiologist and cultural liaison. Her job was to understand alien psychology and advise the diplomatic team. Right now, her analysis showed that Krell was acting outside normal Torvak diplomatic boundaries. He was being deliberately provocative. The question was why. Minji's communication device buzzed softly against her wrist. She glanced down briefly at the message, then looked back up at Krell. Her smile remained in place, but something in her eyes had changed. "Thank you for your honesty, Warlord," she said. "It is valuable to understand where we truly stand. I propose we adjourn for today and resume negotiations tomorrow." Krell snorted. "There is nothing to negotiate. But if you wish to waste more time, that is your choice." As the council session ended and delegates began filing out, Junho approached Minji. His voice was low. "That message, was it from Fleet Command?" "No," Minji replied quietly. "It was from New Jeju Colony. Or rather, it was supposed to be from New Jeju." "Supposed to be?" The transmission cut off midstream. One word came through clearly. "Raiders. Raiders." Junho's face went pale. "Contact the colony administrator. Get me a direct line." "Already tried," Minji said. No response. Communications are completely dark. Lieutenant Choi joined them, his expression grim. "I've been monitoring the Torvak military channels. 3 of their warships changed course approximately 4 hours ago. They're not responding to standard hails." "They're heading?" Junho asked, though he already knew the answer. "Kalan sector. Specifically, the New Jeju system." Minji looked at the chamber where Krell was speaking with other Torvak delegates. They were laughing about something. He knew. During the entire negotiation, he already knew. "We need to bring this to the council immediately," Sora said, joining the group. "An attack on a member species colony is an act of war." Junho shook his head. "The council will form an investigation committee. They'll debate procedures and protocols. It will take weeks." "Then what do we do?" Sora asked. Minji was already walking toward the council secretary's office. "We follow the rules. We file the emergency session request. We go through the proper channels." She paused at the doorway and looked back at her team. "And while the council debates, Captain Junho files different paperwork." "What kind of paperwork?" Choi asked. "Form 7 Alpha," Junho said quietly. "That takes weeks to process through council bureaucracy," Sora protested. "Yes," Minji said. "Which is why the captain will file it through Earth Fleet Command instead. They don't need council approval to defend human colonies." An hour later, the emergency session request had been submitted. The council secretary, a methodical Quellan who followed every rule precisely, informed them that the earliest available session would be in 6 hours. Standard protocol required time to gather all delegates and verify the emergency claim. Minji thanked him politely and returned to the human quarters. Her aide, Han Ji-woo, met her at the door with updated reports. None of them were good. New Jeju still wasn't responding. Long-range sensors showed energy signatures consistent with weapons fire in that sector. 12,000 colonists lived on New Jeju. 12,000 people who had left Earth to build a new life among the stars. "Has the captain filed the paperwork?" Minji asked. "Yes, Ambassador. Form 7 Alpha is submitted." "How long until it processes through normal channels?" "Best case scenario, 4 weeks." Minji sat down at her desk and pulled up a secure communication line to Earth. The encryption was military grade, something she rarely used. Her fingers moved across the holographic keyboard, typing a message that she had hoped never to send. The message was brief. Courteous mode. She sent it without hesitation. Within minutes, responses started coming back from Earth Fleet Command, from the Colonial Defense Force, from government officials she had worked with for decades. All of them had the same tone. Understood and authorized. Minji stood and walked to the window. Outside, the council station orbited peacefully around its dwarf star. Ships from dozens of species came and went, carrying trade goods and passengers. It was beautiful in its way, this symbol of galactic cooperation. She wondered how many of those ships would still be there tomorrow. Her communication device buzzed again. This time, it was a priority message marked for all human personnel on the station. Not just diplomats and military everyone. Tourists, merchants, students, civilian contractors, Every single human received the same notification. The message was simple. Protocol 9. Clear the line of fire. Through the window, Minji watched as the first human civilian transport began emergency departure procedures. Then another. Then 5 more. Within minutes, the human quarter of the station was emptying like water from a broken dam. Around the station, other species noticed. They watched in confusion as humans abandoned shopping areas, restaurants, educational facilities. Some left meals half-eaten, others left belongings behind. They moved with purpose, but without panic, heading directly for the nearest departure gates. The Vrin delegate Crix found Lieutenant Choi in the station's diplomatic garden. "What is happening? Why are your people leaving?" Choi looked at the insectoid being. Over the past few months, they had developed something like friendship. Crix was one of the few aliens who seemed genuinely curious about humans, rather than dismissive. "Because we're trying to be better than we were," Choi said quietly. "But we remember what we were. And when you remember something like that, you make sure civilians aren't around when memory becomes action." "I do not understand." "You will," Choi said. "Soon, everyone will." The council chamber filled slowly over the next several hours. Delegates arrived, looking annoyed at the sudden emergency session. Many had been in the middle of other activities when the summons came. The Quellan bureaucrats complained about proper notice periods. The Vrin representatives chittered about disrupted schedules. Warlord Krell arrived last, flanked by 2 Torvak guards. He looked pleased with himself. Ambassador Park Minji sat in the human delegation seat, reviewing data on her tablet. Captain Junho stood behind her, his uniform crisp and formal. Lieutenant Choi had taken a position near the chamber entrance. Dr. Kim Sora sat to Minji's left, her face carefully neutral. The council speaker, a tall Silthari made of crystalline structures, called the session to order. "Ambassador Park has requested this emergency gathering. The floor is yours." Minji stood. Her movements were precise and controlled. "Honored delegates. 3 hours and 47 minutes ago, Human Colony World, New Jeju, stopped transmitting. Our last received communication contained a single word: raiders. Since then, all attempts to contact the colony have failed." The speaker's crystalline form shifted slightly. "This is concerning. Have you attempted standard emergency protocols?" "Yes, Speaker. We have sent automated distress queries. We have attempted direct communication with the colony administrator, the security chief, and the emergency broadcast system. Nothing responds." One of the Vreen delegates clicked its mandibles. Perhaps their communications array was damaged by natural causes. Equipment failures happen. "Perhaps," Minji said. "However, long-range sensors have detected energy signatures consistent with weapons discharge in the new Jeju system. Additionally, 3 Torvak warships altered course to that exact location approximately 4 hours ago." The chamber erupted in chittering, gurgling, and various sounds of surprise. Warlord Krell remained seated, his expression unchanged. The speaker raised one crystalline appendage for silence. "These are serious accusations. Ambassador, do you have proof of Torvak involvement?" "I have circumstantial evidence, Speaker. Which is why I am requesting an immediate council investigation and—" "There is no proof because there is no involvement," Krell interrupted, standing. "The Torvak Empire has every right to patrol space near our territories. If a human colony has experienced difficulties, that is unfortunate, but not our concern." Minji turned to face him. "New Jeju is home to 12,000 colonists. 3,000 of them are children. If something has happened to them, then you should have better protected them," Krell said coldly. "The Colon sector is dangerous space. This is what happens when species settle in regions they cannot defend." The Quellan delegate made a gurgling sound of distress. "Surely we can agree that investigating this matter is proper procedure. I move to form an investigation committee." Unquote. Seconded, said another delegate. The speaker nodded. A committee must be formed, according to proper protocols. This will require submissions from interested parties, review of jurisdictional boundaries, and appointment of neutral investigators. Standard procedures indicate a minimum of 14 days, Minji said quietly. Standard procedure takes a minimum of 14 days. Correct. Though with thorough review, 3 to 4 weeks is more realistic. Minji looked around the chamber. Delegates avoided her eyes. This was how the council worked. Everything moved through committees and procedures. Nothing happened quickly. The system was designed to prevent rash actions, to force careful consideration. It was also designed by species who had never faced what humanity had faced. I see, Minji said. Then I formally request that this council prioritize. Denied, Krell said. The Torvak Empire does not recognize this as a priority matter. Without unanimous support for priority status, standard procedures apply. Captain Junho leaned down and whispered in Minji's ear. She nodded once, then straightened. Very well. Humanity will await the committee's formation and investigation. She gathered her materials. This session is concluded, I assume. The speaker seemed relieved. Unless there are other matters requiring immediate attention? No, speaker. Nothing that requires council attention. As Minji walked out, she could hear Krell laughing with other Torvak delegates. The sound followed her down the corridor. Junho walked beside her, his face carved from stone. Choi and Sora followed close behind. They said nothing until they reached the human quarters. The section was nearly empty now. Most civilians had already evacuated. Only essential diplomatic and military personnel remained. Han Jiwoo met them inside. The last civilian transport departed 6 minutes ago. We're down to core staff only. Good, Minji said. She walked to her private office and unsealed the security protocols. A holographic display activated, showing Earth Fleet Command's response to her earlier message. Admiral Kim Hyunwoo's face appeared. He looked tired. Minji? We've received your authorization request. I need verbal confirmation. This is Ambassador Park Minji. Voice authorization code Delta 7 Omega 9. I am requesting immediate military intervention under Colonial Defense Protocol. Confirmed. What's the situation? Junho stepped forward. Admiral. New Jeju has gone dark. Evidence suggests Torvak raiders attacked the colony. 12,000 colonists. The council is forming an investigation committee that will take weeks. The admiral's expression hardened. Casualties? Unknown. But given the communications blackout and weapons signatures, we have to assume the worst. Rules of engagement? Junho glanced at Minji. She nodded once. Full authorization, Admiral. Whatever is necessary to secure the colony and neutralize any threats. Understood. Third Fleet is already in motion. Captain Lee, you're needed back on your ship. The Gentle Dawn won't be playing diplomat anymore. Sir, Junho said. Permission to speak freely? Granted. How long has Third Fleet been ready? The Admiral almost smiled. Captain, Third Fleet has been on standby since the day we joined this council. We hoped we'd never need them. Looks like hope wasn't enough. The transmission ended. Minji stood silent for a moment, then turned to her team. Lieutenant Choi, how many Torvak are currently on this station? 47, including diplomatic staff and their guards. Place them all under surveillance. I want to know where every single one is at all times. If any try to leave the station, detain them. On what authority? Choi asked. Material witnesses to a potential war crime. If anyone challenges you, refer them to me. Sora spoke up. Ambassador, the council won't like this. We're essentially imprisoning foreign delegates. The council can file a complaint, Minji said. Her voice was flat, emotionless. In 14 days, through the proper committee. Junho was already heading for the docking bay. I'll be on the Gentle Dawn within 10 minutes. We'll rendezvous with Third Fleet At the edge of the system. Captain, Minji called after him. He paused. Bring our people home. Whatever it takes. Yes, ma'am. After Junho left, Sora sat down heavily. This is really happening. We're going to war. We're defending our colony, Minji corrected. There's a difference. Is there? To the council? This will look like aggression. Let it. Minji pulled up star charts showing the Colin sector. For 23 years, we've bent over backward to fit in. We've accepted insults. We've compromised on every issue. We've built a reputation as the peaceful species. The diplomatic ones. The soft ones. Because we wanted to be better than our history, Sora said. Yes, and we are better. But being better doesn't mean being defenseless. Minji's finger traced the route from Earth to New Jeju. The Council thinks humanity forgot how to fight. They think centuries of peace made us weak. Didn't it? No, Sora. It made us dangerous. Because now we know exactly what we're capable of, and we choose not to do it. But choice requires the ability to choose. You can't choose peace if you're not capable of war. You're just a victim waiting to happen. Choi returned from securing the Torvak delegates. They're contained. Most went quietly, but a few protested. The Torvak military attaché tried to send a message out. I blocked it. Good work. Minji checked the time. Third Fleet should arrive at New Jeju in approximately 6 hours. Until then, we wait. What do we tell the council? Sora asked. Nothing. We're not required to inform them of military movements outside council space. The Kalan sector isn't under council jurisdiction. Krell will claim it is. Let him claim whatever he wants. Claims don't change reality. See now. They waited in the human quarters as time crawled forward. Other species on the station began to notice something was wrong. The human section remained empty. The usual friendly merchants and students were gone. The handful of humans still present moved with military precision, their earlier pleasant demeanors replaced with cold efficiency. In the diplomatic garden, a Vryn merchant approached Lieutenant Choi. It was late in the station's cycle, and few others were around. Lieutenant, your people are frightening the others. Choi looked at the insectoid. Are they threatening anyone? No, but the change is dramatic. Yesterday you were all smiles and politeness. Today you are something else. And in 17-user-old quote, today we remembered something, Choi said. What did you remember? Choi was quiet for a long moment. Finally, he spoke. That politeness is a choice we make, not a weakness we have. For 23 years, we chose to be the peaceful species. We chose to smile and compromise because we believed in what the council represented. And now? Now we remember that underneath the choice, we're still human. And humans have a very long history of dealing with predators. The Vryn shifted nervously. I have accessed your species' historical database. The wars. The weapons. Yes, Choi interrupted. All of that. We didn't become peaceful because we forgot how to fight. We became peaceful because we learned what fighting costs. But that doesn't mean we forgot the skills. We just stopped using them. And now you will use them again? Someone attacked our children, Choi said simply. What would your species do? The Vryn had no answer. Back in the command center, alerts started coming through. Long-range sensors detected multiple ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the system. Not near the council station, but far enough out that it would take time for the council to respond. Sora checked the signatures. Those are human ships. A lot of them. Minji pulled up the tactical display. 23 vessels in formation. Not exploration ships. Not cargo haulers. Warships. Real military vessels with weapon systems that made the council's patrol boats look like toys. Third Fleet, she said quietly. Right on schedule. Across the station, alarms began to sound. Other species detected the fleet too. Within minutes, her communication console exploded with incoming messages. Council delegates demanding explanations. Other species ambassadors asking what was happening. Even the station commander, a Quellan who had always been friendly to humanity, sent a worried query. Minji ignored them all except one. She opened the channel from Captain Junho. His face appeared on the screen. And behind him, she could see the bridge of a warship. Not the Gentle Dawn anymore. Something much larger. Ambassador, this is Captain Lee Junho of the UENS Righteous Fury, flagship of Earth's Third Fleet. All non-Torvac vessels are advised to clear the Colin sector immediately. This is your only warning. We are taking our people home. The council chamber descended into chaos. Delegates shouted over each other in dozens of languages, their translation devices struggling to keep up. The holographic display at the center of the room showed the tactical situation in the Kalan sector, and what they saw terrified them. 23 human warships held position just outside New Jeju's orbit. They were unlike anything the Council had encountered from humanity before. Large, angular vessels, bristling with weapons. Sensor arrays that could detect a ship's signature from across a solar system. Point defense grids that tracked thousands of targets simultaneously. This is unprecedented, the Quellan delegate gurgled. Humanity has never deployed military assets outside Sol system. Warlord Krell stood at his delegation's position, his reptilian face twisted in anger. This is an act of war. The Council must condemn this aggression immediately. Ambassador Park Minji entered the chamber calmly. She walked to the human delegation seat and waited for the speaker to restore order. It took several minutes. When the noise finally died down, every eye in the chamber fixed on her. Ambassador Park, the speaker said, its crystalline voice tight with stress. Explain this military deployment. The council was not informed. The council was forming a committee, Minji replied evenly. That process takes weeks. New Jeju's colonists do not have weeks. Therefore, the United Earth Government has exercised its sovereign right to defend its colonies. You have no right, Krell roared. The Kalan sector is disputed territory. Correction, Warlord. The Kalan sector was disputed territory. As of 1 hour ago, the United Earth Government formally withdrew from the Kalan sector treaty. Those worlds are now independent human colonies operating under Earth's direct protection. You cannot simply withdraw from treaties. Minji pulled up the treaty document on the holographic display. Article 47. Section 3. Any signatory may withdraw from this agreement with formal notice. I filed that notice 90 minutes ago. The withdrawal is legal under council law. The Vrin military analyst, an insectoid named Vex, was studying the tactical display with increasing alarm. Ambassador, those ship signatures. What class of vessels are those? Fleet carriers, battle cruisers, destroyers, and support craft, Minji said. Third Fleet represents 1/3 of Earth's military space capability. 1/3? Vex's mandibles clicked nervously. You have 3 fleets of this size? 6, actually. Third and fifth are deployed. First, second, fourth, and sixth remain in Sol system on defensive rotation. The chamber went silent. Every species in the council had assumed humanity possessed minimal military capability. They explored in science vessels. They negotiated instead of fighting. They smiled and compromised. No one had considered that all of that might be deliberate misdirection. Dr. Kim Sora, sitting in the observer section, watched the delegates process this information. She had spent years studying alien psychology. Right now, she could see the exact moment when each species realized they had fundamentally misunderstood humanity. The Silthari speaker shifted, its crystalline structure refracting light in agitated patterns. Ambassador, this council was formed to prevent exactly this type of unilateral military action. We have procedures. Your procedures move slowly, Speaker. They are designed for politics, not emergencies. 12,000 humans were attacked. We asked for help. You offered us a committee that would report findings in a month. That is not acceptable. So, you threaten war instead? Krell demanded. No, warlord. We promise consequences. Minji's voice remained calm. But something cold entered her tone. For 23 years, humanity has operated under the assumption that this council values all member species equally. That attacks on civilians would be met with swift justice. We were wrong. She turned to address the entire chamber. New Jeju was attacked 6 hours ago. In that time, this council has done exactly nothing except debate proper procedure. Meanwhile, Warlord Krell has been laughing with his subordinates about how weak humanity is. You accuse me without proof, Krell snarled. I accuse you with evidence, Warlord. 3 of your warships changed course toward New Jeju before you even arrived at yesterday's negotiation session. You knew the attack was coming. You likely ordered it yourself. Speculation, perhaps. But in exactly 3 hours, Third Fleet will find out for certain. And if we discover that Torvak forces attacked New Jeju, then you will learn something important about humanity. And what is that? Minji's smile was nothing like the pleasant expression she had worn for years. That we remember. We remember every war we ever fought on Earth. Every weapon we ever built. Every tactical doctrine we ever developed. We remember all of it, Warlord. We just chose not to use it. But choices can be unmade. Vex was still analyzing the tactical display. The Vryn military analyst spoke up hesitantly. Ambassador, the Torvak Empire has a battle group stationed in the next sector. 47 warships. If they engage your fleet, they will lose, Minji said flatly. Krell laughed. You have 23 ships against our 47. Your arrogance will be your destruction. Warlord, your species has been the dominant military power in this region for 300 years. You are used to victory. But you have never fought humanity. You have no idea what we are capable of. Captain Lee Junho's face appeared on the chamber's main display. He looked different than when he had stood quietly behind Minji for years. This was not a diplomat's aide. This was a warship captain, and his expression promised violence. Council delegates, Junho said, this is your final warning. All non-Torvak vessels have 30 minutes to clear the Kalan sector. After that, Third Fleet will consider any ships in the area as potential hostiles. Thanks for watching. End quote. The Quellan delegate made distressed gurgling sounds. Captain, there are civilian vessels in that sector, merchant ships, transport craft. Then they should leave. Now. The display changed, showing long-range sensors detecting new contacts. The Torvak battle group was moving toward the Kalan sector. 47 ships against humanity's 23. Krell's confidence returned. Your warning is meaningless, Captain. The Torvak Empire does not flee from inferior forces. We will crush your little fleet and reclaim the sector by force. Last chance, Warlord, Junho said. Stand down. Never. The transmission ended. Junho turned to someone off-screen and gave an order too quiet for the microphone to catch. On the tactical display, the human fleet began to move, but something else appeared on the sensors. New contacts, previously hidden behind New Jeju's moon. More human ships, not 23 vessels, 60 total. Vex's analysis equipment started beeping frantically. The Vryn analyst stared at the readings, mandibles frozen in shock. Those weapon signatures? What are those? Dr. Sora finally spoke up from the observer section. Would you like to know? Analyst Vex? Yes. Please. Sora stood and walked to the tactical display. She pulled up technical data that made several delegates physically recoil. These are human warships equipped with weapon systems we developed during our worst conflicts. Railguns, capable of accelerating projectiles to 5% light speed. Nuclear-pumped, laser drones. Kinetic kill vehicles. Electronic warfare suites that can penetrate any known shielding technology. But why? The Quellan delegate asked. Why build such weapons if you claim to be peaceful? Because peace is a choice, Sora replied. And you can only choose peace if you have the capability to choose war. For 10,000 years, humanity perfected the art of killing. We built weapons that could end our own species 100 times over. We developed tactics and strategies that turned warfare into a science. She gestured at the tactical display. Then we met you. We joined this council hoping we could leave all that behind. We wanted to be better than our history, so we locked away the weapons, changed our doctrine, and became the species you saw. Diplomatic, peaceful, friendly. But you never forgot, Vex said quietly. No, we never forgot. We just hoped we would never need to remember. On the display, the Torvak battle group continued its approach. The commander, a Torvak admiral named Throk, was broadcasting threats and demands. He spoke of crushing the human fleet, of teaching Earth a lesson about challenging the Torvak Empire. Krell watched with satisfaction. You see? Even with 60 ships, you are still outnumbered. My people will destroy you. Minji was reading something on her personal tablet. Her expression darkened. Captain Junho has sent me preliminary data from New Jeju. The chamber waited. The colony was attacked by Torvak raiders 4 hours ago. They targeted civilian centers first. Schools, residential areas, medical facilities. Current casualty estimates. 11,300 dead. 700 survivors. In emergency shelters. Silence. Even the normally boisterous Vrin delegates went quiet. 3,000 children lived on New Jeju, Minji continued, her voice hollow. 3,000. Warlord Krell, your forces specifically targeted the school complexes. Why? Krell said nothing. For the first time, he looked uncertain. I will tell you why, Minji said. Because you wanted to hurt us. You wanted to prove that humanity was weak, that we would take any abuse without fighting back. You thought killing our children would make us beg for mercy. She closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, something fundamental had changed. You were wrong. Lieutenant Choi's voice came through on a priority channel. Ambassador, the Torvak delegates here are attempting to leave the station. They claim diplomatic immunity. AF. Denied, Minji said. They are material witnesses to a war crime. If they resist, consider them combatants, Winji said. Understood. The council chamber erupted in protests. You cannot detain foreign diplomats. This violates every convention. The council will not stand for this. Minji turned to face them all. The council will do exactly what it has done for the past 6 hours. Nothing. You will debate. You will form committees. You will discuss proper procedures. Meanwhile, Third Fleet will deliver actual justice. On the tactical display, the two fleets were converging. Minutes until contact. Warlord Krell tried to access his communication device to warn his fleet, but found it disabled. He looked at Minji with something approaching fear. You are making a terrible mistake. The Torvak Empire will not forget this. Good, Minji said. We're counting on it. Because after today, every species in this galaxy will understand something important about humanity. What? That we came to space offering friendship. We extended our hands in peace. We chose to be better than our violent history. But we also came prepared for the day when someone mistook our kindness for weakness. She looked directly at Krell. You killed our children, Warlord. You laughed about it. You thought we were too soft to respond. Now you're going to learn exactly how wrong you were. The tactical display showed the first weapons exchange. The Battle of New Jeju had begun, and the Council watched in horror as humanity showed them what real warfare looked like. The Battle of New Jeju lasted 17 minutes. In the Council chamber, delegates watched the tactical display in stunned silence. What they witnessed was not warfare as they understood it. The Torvak Empire had fought dozens of battles over centuries. They used traditional fleet tactics, formation flying, broadside exchanges, honor duels between capital ships. The human fleet did none of these things. Admiral Throck's battle group approached in standard Torvak battle formation. Their 47 ships moved in precise geometric patterns, maintaining proper spacing for coordinated fire. It was textbook military doctrine, refined over 300 years of Torvak dominance. The human ships scattered like startled birds. What are they doing? Vex the Vryn analyst chittered in confusion. They are breaking all formation protocols. They should be maximizing shield overlap and creating firing solutions. Dr. Kim Sora watched from the observer section. They are maximizing unpredictability. Human military doctrine does not believe in formation flying. Every ship is an independent unit capable of autonomous operation, but that makes coordination impossible. No, it makes targeting impossible. On the display, the Torvak fleet opened fire. Plasma cannons launched volleys designed to overwhelm shields through concentrated firepower. Energy weapons painted space with deadly light. Most of the shots missed entirely. The human ships were no longer where Torvak targeting computers predicted they would be. They moved in irregular patterns, accelerating and decelerating randomly, changing vectors without warning. Their combat computers cannot establish firing solutions, Vex said, mandibles clicking rapidly. The human ships are not following predictable paths. Of course not, Sora replied. Predictability is death in human warfare. Then the human fleet returned fire. The first Torvak destroyer simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, shielded and armed. The next moment, a tungsten rod accelerated to 5% light speed struck its midsection. The kinetic energy was so enormous that the ship's mass was converted to plasma faster than sensors could track. What weapon was that? The Quellan delegate gurgled in horror. Railgun, Sora said calmly. Electromagnetic acceleration. No explosives, no energy signature before impact. Just mass and velocity. We invented them 800 years ago for planetary bombardment. But the speed. Nothing can track something moving that fast. That's the point. 3 more Torvak ships took hits in rapid succession. Their shields, designed to disperse energy weapons, did nothing against kinetic impacts. The projectiles punched through barriers like they weren't there. Admiral Throck adapted. His fleet split into smaller groups, increasing evasive maneuvers. The Torvak were not stupid. They began random course changes, trying to avoid the railgun fire. The human fleet switched tactics. Small objects began launching from the warships. Hundreds of them, spreading across the battlefield like a swarm. They were too small for effective weapons, too numerous for point defense to target them all. Drones, Captain Lee Junho's voice came through the transmission. Nuclear-pumped X-ray laser drones. Each one contains a small fusion warhead. When detonated, the explosion is channeled through lasing rods, converting the nuclear energy into directed radiation. A dozen drones surrounded a Torvak cruiser and detonated simultaneously. The cruiser's shields handled the explosion itself easily, but the focused X-ray beams passed through the shields like they didn't exist, cooking the ship's interior with lethal radiation. The cruiser's lights went dark. Life support failed. The crew died within seconds. "They are killing the crews," Krell roared. "This is barbaric. Weapons should target the ship, not the personnel." Ambassador Park Minji turned to him slowly. "You targeted schools, Warlord. You killed 3,000 children. And now you lecture us about barbarism?" The battle continued. The Torvak fleet was adapting again, spreading their ships wider to avoid concentrated drone strikes. Some vessels began succeeding in destroying drones before they could detonate. A Torvak battlecruiser managed to get a clean shot on a human destroyer. Plasma cannons fired point-blank, overwhelming the destroyer's shields. Hull breaches appeared across 3 decks. The Torvak crew celebrated. Their first significant hit. Then the human destroyer launched boarding pods. "What are those?" Vex asked, analyzing the small craft, accelerating toward the Torvak battlecruiser. "Boarding craft," Sora said. Humans have been boarding enemy ships since we fought on wooden boats thousands of years ago. But their ship is damaged. Why would they counterattack? Because a damaged ship can still kill. And because boarding allows capture of intelligence and prisoners. The pod struck the Torvak battlecruiser's hull and burned through the armor with cutting lasers. Human soldiers poured into the ship wearing combat armor. The Torvak crew tried to repel them, but human soldiers moved through the corridors with brutal efficiency. They targeted life support nodes, environmental controls, command deck access. Within 4 minutes, the Torvak crew was venting atmosphere from a dozen hull breaches. Within 8 minutes, the human boarding teams had secured the bridge. The battlecruiser went dark and began transmitting human identification codes. Admiral Throck's fleet was down to 39 operational ships. The human fleet had lost 0 vessels, though several showed damage. The mathematics of the battle were becoming clear. "This is impossible," Krell said, his voice hollow. "The Torvak Empire has never lost a fleet engagement." "Never. You have never fought humanity," Minji replied. "You fought species who learned warfare from the Council. Formation tactics. Honor duels. Clear rules of engagement. Humanity learned warfare from killing itself for 10,000 years. We wrote those rules. We know how to break them." A Torvak frigate attempted a desperate ramming attack, accelerating at full thrust toward the human flagship. It was a traditional Torvak tactic. Sacrifice one ship to destroy the enemy command vessel. The UENS Righteous Fury didn't even change course. Its point defense grid tracked the frigate, calculated its trajectory, and fired. Not at the frigate's hull. At its fuel tanks. The frigate exploded before it got within 10,000 kilometers. "They knew exactly where to shoot," Vex said, studying the engagement. "Human warships carry complete technical specifications for every known ship design," Sora explained. "We have analyzed every vessel in Council space. We know your weak points, your fuel capacities, your crew layouts. This is called intelligence preparation of the battlefield. You have been studying us for war this entire time. We have been studying you for peace," Sora corrected. "Understanding others prevents conflict. But that understanding works both ways." The Torvak fleet broke. Admiral Throck, recognizing imminent destruction, ordered a general retreat. His remaining ships turned and began accelerating away from the battle space. The human fleet let them go. Every ship, every escape pod, every damaged vessel limping away. "Why do they not pursue?" Krell demanded. "They could destroy the entire fleet." "Because that's not the objective," Minji said. "The objective was to secure New Jeju and neutralize the immediate threat. Unnecessary killing serves no purpose. But in warfare, you destroy the enemy completely. In Torvak warfare, perhaps. In human warfare, you accomplish the mission objective with minimum necessary force. Pursuing a broken enemy wastes resources and creates martyrs." On the tactical display, human rescue shuttles were landing at New Jeju. Medical teams deployed to the emergency shelters. Engineering units began assessing damage. The 700 survivors were being evacuated to the fleet's hospital ships. Lieutenant Choi's voice came through from the station. "Ambassador, we have found evidence in the Torvak diplomatic quarters. Communication logs showing coordination between Warlord Krell and Admiral Throck. Orders for the attack on New Jeju. Everything. Transmit it to the Council," Minji said. Moments later, the evidence appeared on every delegate's personal display. Communication transcripts. Attack orders. Post-battle celebration messages that Krell had sent before the human fleet arrived. The chamber was silent. The Silthari speaker's crystalline form flickered with distress. "Warlord Krell. These communications show you ordered the attack on New Jeju. You deliberately targeted civilians." "They were in Torvak space," Krell snarled. "They were under Council protection," the speaker replied. "You have violated the most fundamental laws of this institution. You have committed war crimes. I regret nothing. The Torvak Empire will surrender you immediately." A new voice interrupted. On the display, a different Torvak appeared. older, with more elaborate armor markings. I am High Commander Vorn, supreme military authority of the Torvak Empire. Warlord Krell was acting without authorization. His actions do not represent official Torvak policy. It was a lie. Everyone knew it was a lie. But it was a lie that gave the Torvak government a way to save face, while punishing Krell. High Commander, Minji said carefully. Humanity demands accountability for New Jeju. 11,300 dead colonists. And you shall have it, Vorn replied. Warlord Krell and every soldier involved in the New Jeju attack will be surrendered to human authority for trial. Additionally, the Torvak Empire will pay reparations and formally recognize all human claims in the Kalan sector. Krell roared in outrage. You cannot surrender me to these animals! You murdered children, Vorn said coldly. You dishonored the Empire with atrocity. And worse, you got caught. You are no longer Torvak military. You are a war criminal. And you will face human justice. Lieutenant Choi appeared in the chamber with a squad of armed soldiers. They moved toward Krell's position. The warlord's own guards stepped aside, without resistance. High Commander Forn had clearly sent orders. As Choi placed restraints on Krell, the former warlord looked at Minji with pure hatred. You will regret this. The Torvak Empire will never forget. Good, Minji said. We're counting on it. We want every species in this council to remember what happened today. We want them to remember that humanity offered peace, and you answered with the murder of children. We want them to remember that we gave the council a chance to deliver justice, and you laughed at us. Round. She stepped closer to Krell. Most importantly, we want everyone to remember that we only stay peaceful because we choose to. And that choice is conditional on reciprocal respect. Choi led Krell away. The chamber remained silent for a long moment. Finally, the Quellan delegate spoke. Ambassador Park, your actions today, while understandable, have violated numerous council protocols. You deployed military forces without authorization. You detained foreign diplomats. You essentially declared war without council approval. Yes, Minji said simply. The council cannot allow such precedents. If every species acted unilaterally, then perhaps the council should act faster, Minji interrupted. 12,000 people were attacked. We asked for help. You offered us a committee. How many more humans were supposed to die while your committee debated proper procedure? She looked around the chamber. For 23 years, humanity has followed every rule. We have accepted every restriction. We have been patient and diplomatic and peaceful. And what did it get us? Dead children and laughter from a warlord who thought we were too weak to respond. So what now? The speaker asked. Does humanity intend to abandon the council? No, Minji said. We still believe in what the council represents. But we are changing how we participate. She pulled up a document on the main display. These are humanity's new terms for council membership. The delegates began reading. Their expressions shifted from shock to outrage to resignation. These terms are unprecedented, the Vreen delegate protested. You demand autonomous military authority. You demand rapid response protocols. You demand that attacks on member species be treated as attacks on the entire council. Yes, Minji said. Because the current system failed. It failed New Jeju. It will fail others unless it changes. And if the council refuses these terms? Minji's expression was cold. Then, humanity will pursue our interests independently. We will defend our colonies with whatever force is necessary. We will enforce our own justice. And other species will learn that the council cannot protect them. It was a threat and a promise. Either the council changed, or humanity would operate outside its authority. And after watching the Battle of New Jeju, no one doubted that humanity could do exactly that. The speaker's crystalline form dimmed with stress. The Council will need time to consider these terms. You have 72 hours, Minji said. After that, humanity will assume the Council's answer is no. She gathered her materials and walked out of the chamber. Her team followed. Behind them, the Council delegates began arguing in dozens of languages, their comfortable certainties shattered by 17 minutes of human warfare. In the corridor, Sora caught up to Minji. Do you think they'll accept the terms? They will, Minji said. Because the alternative is worse. They just watched us dismantle a Torvak battle group with minimal casualties. They know we could do the same to any of them. Fear is a powerful motivator. Is that what we want? To be feared? Minji stopped walking and looked at her colleague. No, Sora. We want to be respected. But if fear is the cost of keeping our people safe, then I'll pay it. They continued toward the human quarters, where Captain Junho was waiting with reports from New Jeju. The work of recovering the dead and rebuilding the colony would take months, but humanity had sent a message that would echo across the galaxy. We came in peace. We tried your way. But never mistake our patience for weakness. Never threaten our people without expecting consequences. The Council had seen humanity's courteous mode disable in real time, and the galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after the Battle of New Jeju, Captain Lee Junho walked through the rebuilt Memorial Plaza with his daughter, Lee Yuna. The plaza occupied the exact location where the central school complex had stood. Now it was a garden of remembrance, with 3,000 flowering trees, one for each child who had died. Yuna held her father's hand tightly. She was 11 years old and had survived the attack by hiding in an emergency shelter for 6 hours. The counselors said she was doing well. All things considered, Junho wasn't sure he believed them. Daddy, Yuna said quietly, everyone at school says we're scary now, that the aliens are afraid of us. Junho knelt beside her so they were at eye level. Why do you think they're afraid? Because of the battle. Because we beat the Torvak so fast. That's part of it, Junho acknowledged. But it's more complicated than that. How? He thought about how to explain it. Yuna, imagine there's a big kid at school who sometimes pushes other kids around. And imagine there's another kid who's always nice and shares their lunch and helps with homework. Okay. Now imagine one day the big kid pushes the nice kid's little sister. What do you think happens? Yuna thought about it. The nice kid fights back? Maybe. But here's the important part. The big kid thought the nice kid couldn't fight. He thought being nice meant being weak. So when the nice kid fights back, and fights back hard, the big kid is surprised. Scared. Even. Because he realizes he was wrong about everything. So the aliens are scared because they were wrong about us? Yes. They thought we were weak because we chose to be peaceful. They didn't understand that choosing peace and being able to fight are two different things. Yuna looked at the memorial trees swaying in the breeze. I'm glad you came. I'm glad you fought back. Junho pulled her into a hug. I will always come for you, sweetheart. Always. They walked through the plaza in comfortable silence. Reconstruction crews were still working on some buildings, but New Jeju was alive again. 11,000 colonists had died, but the survivors had chosen to rebuild rather than abandon their home. That choice mattered. On the council station, Ambassador Park Minji sat in her office, reviewing the latest diplomatic reports. The past 6 months had been turbulent. The council had accepted humanity's terms after 3 days of heated debate. The vote had been 6-1. With only the Torvak Empire voting against, the changes were significant. A rapid response force now existed, jointly operated by all council species, but commanded by human officers. Any attack on a member species colony triggered immediate investigation and intervention. The bureaucratic delays that had cost 11,000 lives were gone. Other changes were less visible but equally important. Human military vessels now patrolled council space freely. Human intelligence services openly operated information networks. Human technical specifications for weapon systems were no longer kept secret, because everyone now knew humanity possessed them. The galaxy had learned to respect humanity. Some species had learned to fear them. A few had learned to appreciate what humanity offered: protection, fairness, and consequences for violence. Dr. Kim Sora knocked on Minji's door and entered. The Vrin delegation is here for their meeting. Already? I thought we had another hour. They arrived early. Analyst Vex says it's important. Minji sighed and straightened her formal jacket. Send them in. Vex entered with two other Vrin officials. The insectoid beings moved with their usual precise coordination. Vex's mandibles clicked in what the translation device rendered as polite greeting. Ambassador Park, thank you for seeing us. Of course, Analyst Vex. What brings the Vrin delegation today? A proposal. And an apology. Minji raised an eyebrow. An apology? Yes. The Vrin Collective wishes to formally apologize for our behavior during the New Jeju crisis. We participated in the Council's dismissal of your emergency. We found your concerns amusing. We were wrong. I appreciate the sentiment, Analyst. It is not just sentiment, Vex said. The Vrin Collective has studied the Battle of New Jeju extensively. We have analyzed human military doctrine, your tactical decisions, your strategic thinking. It has been educational. How so? We thought we understood warfare. The Vrin Collective has fought 17 conflicts over our history. We considered ourselves competent military minds. Then we watched you dismantle a Torvak battle group in 17 minutes, using tactics we had never imagined. Vex pulled up a holographic display showing battle analysis. Your use of kinetic weapons at relativistic speeds. Your drone swarms with nuclear-pumped lasers. Your electronic warfare capabilities. Your boarding tactics. Every element was designed for maximum efficiency, with minimum risk to your own forces. That's standard human doctrine, Minji said. We fight to win. No, Vex corrected. You fight to accomplish objectives while preserving your own forces. There is a difference. The Torvak fight for glory. The Quellan fight for territory. The Vrin fight for resources. Humans fight for victory. And your proposal? The Vrin Collective wishes to establish a military exchange program with humanity. We want to learn from you. We want to understand how to defend ourselves more effectively. In exchange, we offer full access to Vrin industrial capacity and technology. Minji considered this carefully. This would represent a significant shift in Vrin foreign policy. Yes. But the galaxy has changed, Ambassador. Before New Jeju, the Council maintained peace through consensus and compromise. Now we know that peace requires the capability to respond to violence. Humanity demonstrated that truth. We wish to learn from your example. They discussed details for another hour. The proposal was genuine and well considered. The Vrin weren't afraid of humanity. They were pragmatic. They recognized that the old ways of council politics had failed, and they were adapting. After the Vrin delegation left, Sora returned. How did it go? They want military cooperation, training, doctrine sharing, joint exercises. Do we accept? I'll recommend it to Earth Command. The Vrin are practical allies. They learn fast, and they don't hold grudges. Sora sat down across from Minji. Do you ever regret it? What we did at New Jeju? Regret fighting back? Regret how we fought back? The brutality of it. We killed thousands of Torvak soldiers. Minji was quiet for a long moment. Every night, Sora. I regret it every night. I lie awake thinking about those Torvak crew members who died when we targeted life support. They were soldiers following orders. Many probably didn't even know they were attacking a civilian colony. But I think about Yuna, Lee Junho's daughter. She hid in a shelter for 6 hours, listening to her friends die. I think about the 3,000 children who didn't make it to the shelters. And I know that if we hadn't responded with overwhelming force, more children would die in the future. She looked at Sora directly. Regret doesn't change necessity. We did what we had to do. We sent a message that couldn't be ignored. Humanity protects its own. If that makes us feared, so be it. Better feared than mourned. Lieutenant Choi Dae-hyun found them an hour later. Ambassador, we have the final verdict from the New Jeju Tribunal. And Warlord Krell and 43 officers found guilty of war crimes. The tribunal sentenced them to life imprisonment, with no possibility of parole. 3 lower-ranking soldiers were acquitted due to following orders under duress. How did Krell react? He called the trial a mockery. Said humanity would never understand true warrior culture. Said we were soft, and would eventually fall to a stronger species. Minji almost smiled. Actually, Ambassador, I think he's afraid. He keeps saying we're weak because he needs to believe it. If he admits we're strong, he has to face what that means. The Torvak Empire is no longer the dominant military power in this region. And we are? By default, yes. Not because we have the most ships, but because we have the most effective military doctrine. Other species are already adapting. The Vryn want training. The Quellan are redesigning their fleet tactics. Even the Silthari are asking about our electronic warfare capabilities. Minji walked to the window overlooking the station. Outside, ships from a dozen species moved through space. Some carried trade goods. Others transported diplomats. A few were military vessels on patrol. Among them, human warships maintained a discreet presence. Not aggressive, but visible. A reminder of what happened when someone mistook human patience for weakness. Sora asked if I regret what we did. Minji said quietly. The truth is more complicated. I regret that we had to do it. I regret that the Council failed so badly that violence became necessary. I regret every life lost, human and Torvak both. But? Choi prompted. But I don't regret protecting our people. I don't regret showing the galaxy that humanity won't be victimized. We came to space, hoping to be better than our history. We tried to leave the violence behind, but when someone forces your hand, you can't afford to pull punches. She turned back to face them. 23 years ago, humanity joined the Council with open hands and hopeful hearts. We were the new species, eager to learn, willing to compromise. We built a reputation as the diplomatic ones, the peaceful ones, the soft ones. And now? Sora asked. Now we're the ones you don't threaten. We're still diplomatic. We still prefer negotiation to conflict. But everyone knows what happens if you push too far. They know we remember how to fight. They know we fight to win. Choi nodded. Courteous mode is conditional. Exactly. We're happy to be courteous, friendly, diplomatic. But that courtesy requires mutual respect. It requires the understanding that our patience has limits, that our kindness is a choice, not a weakness. A message came through on Minji's communication device. She read it and allowed herself a small smile. The Council just passed a resolution formally condemning the New Jeju attack and establishing new protocols for investigating threats to member colonies. The vote was unanimous. Even the Torvak? Even the Torvak. High Commander Vorn is pragmatic. He knows the Empire needs to rebuild its reputation after Krell's crimes. They stood together watching the ships pass outside. Somewhere out there, New Jeju was rebuilding. 11,000 graves held the dead. But 700 survivors had chosen to stay and honor their memory by continuing to live. That choice defined humanity better than any battle. They remembered what they had lost. They grieved for the dead, but they didn't let grief paralyze them. They rebuilt, adapted, and moved forward. That same principle now governed humanity's relationship with the Council. They remembered the insults, the dismissals, the laughter, when they asked for justice. But they didn't let that memory poison them. Instead, they used it to establish clear boundaries. Be courteous to us, and we will be courteous to you. Respect our people, and we will respect yours. But threaten our colonies, hurt our families, and you will discover what humanity becomes when courteous mode disables. Peace through strength, diplomacy with teeth, kindness backed by capability. This was humanity's new doctrine, forged in the fires of New Jeju and tempered by the blood of 11,000 colonists. In the memorial plaza on New Jeju, Junho and Yuna stopped at a specific tree. It bore a small plaque. In memory of Park Jiho, age 8, who loved dinosaurs and wanted to be a paleontologist. He was my friend, Yuna said softly. He always shared his snacks. Tell me about him, Junho said. As Yuna talked about her lost friend, Junho listened and remembered. He remembered the bridge of the righteous fury. He remembered giving the order to open fire. He remembered watching Torvak's ships go dark as their crews died. He would carry those memories forever. The weight of command, the burden of violence, the necessity of protection. These were not light things, but as he held his daughter and listened to her remember her friend, Junho knew he would make the same choices again. He would always choose to protect the innocent. He would always respond to violence with overwhelming force. He would always come when his people called. That was what it meant to be human in this new galaxy, to remember both their capacity for peace and their capability for war, to choose kindness while maintaining the strength to defend it. The sun set over New Jeju, painting the memorial trees in golden light. 3,000 trees for 3,000 children, a permanent reminder of what was lost and why humanity could never again afford to seem weak. Junho and Yuna walked home together as darkness fell. Behind them, the trees whispered in the evening breeze, speaking for those who could no longer speak for themselves. They spoke of innocence lost and justice delivered. They spoke of a species that came to space, offering peace, but learned that peace requires the will to fight for it. They spoke of the day humanity's courteous mode disabled, and the galaxy learned what real humans looked like when someone hurt their children. And across the stars, every species in the council heard that whisper and understood. Humanity would always prefer diplomacy. They would always seek peaceful solutions. They would always be willing to negotiate, but they would never again be dismissed, never again be mocked, and never again be seen as weak. The price of that lesson had been written in blood at New Jeju. It was a lesson the galaxy would not forget, and humanity would make sure they never had to teach it again.